Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you for joining CView this morning or afternoon, evening, your time. This is an amazing webinar by Dr. Niramala Rege. I don't have to give her introduction. A lot of you know her very well, but for those who doesn't know, and I was very impressed when I read her bio. So I'm going to share a little bit with you. Dr. Niramala Rege is a renowned professor of pharmacology at Iraz Lucknow Medical College and professor emeritus at Seth GS Medical College and KEM Hospital, Mumbai. With an MD, DNB, and PhD in pharmacology, she has held key academic and leadership roles in national and international pharmacology and medical education organizations. She has over 130 research publications, authored 2 textbooks, and co-edited 3 academic books, and received over 40 awards for her work in pharmacology and Ayurveda. Actively involved in curriculum development, research training, and faculty development, she continues to make significant contributions to medical education and clinical pharmacology in India. Thank you, Niramala, for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking time and speaking with us today. The floor is yours. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Sakina, for that kind introduction. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you. Today's topic is, as you see on the slide, strategies to promote educational scholarships. Before we proceed to that, I thought that many of you must be knowing the concept of this educational scholarship. But just to brush a little bit about it, I will touch upon the concept and criteria and the importance of advancing health profession, its role in advancing health professions education and professional growth. What are the hurdles reported when someone is pursuing scholarly work? And I think this is essential, this part, because if we understand that, then only we can build up effective strategies to enhance and sustain educational scholarships. And of course, the role of mentorship, collaboration, and community of practice in this entire endeavor. Let me start with my own story. That when I heard scholarship for education, what came to my mind was till a long period I was thinking that it is a scholarship which we get to pursue the higher education, and it is always monetary in nature. But we started in 2005 a FEMER fellowship program in our institute, my previous institute, CGS Medical College and KEM Hospital. And that time, I was exposed to a scholarship in educational field by Dr. Page Moran. And then I understand this is something which goes at the top of our Bloom's taxonomical, those different levels of cognitive domain, and that is the last one is to create. So something to design, assemble, conduct, or develop, formulate. So it is something like creating, so very high level. And then she shared that time her paper with us, the double helix of activity and scholarship in medical education career with limited resources. And in that workshop, there was a lot of handholding. And then I slowly developed my interest in this scholarship in education field. So if we look at what is educational scholarship, it is a tangible product. It is something which you can touch or you can see. It is not something abstract idea. So it could be a journal article, it could be a book, it could be a presentation, it could be any durable educational product that like you are developing some suture kit, but which is something novelty in it. Something for which you have got copyright or patent. So it is something new knowledge and its presentation. But it it should be peer reviewed and it should be publicly disseminated. So it is something as a scholarly product of a scholar. So in earlier days, it was considered that the research is only the scholarship, that you conduct the research in your own discipline and that will give you the scholarship. But in 1990, there was a landmark report by Ernest Boyer, and he expanded the scope. And he stated that the faculty, teaching faculty, can pursue four scholarships. One is the scholarship of discovery, scholarship of integration, scholarship of application, and scholarship of teaching. And what does that mean? If you this actually expanded the avenues. You can take it up in your own discipline, pharmacology, biochemistry, clinical side, or you can do it in the field of education, and then you can build upon it further. So whatever you are doing routinely, you can culminate that into a scholarship. And then uh, if you look at the examples in the educational field, the scholarship of discovery is the original fundamental research that is developing a new theory or new ways of doing something. And scholarship of integration is usually the interdisciplinary. Different disciplines or within your own discipline, there may be some ideas, some facts, where if you connect that and if you synthesize something new, then that becomes a scholarship of integration. For example, we are using lot of digital material. We are using gaming also to facilitate learning. So that is a scholarship of integration. There is a scholarship of application. That means there may be someone who has earned the scholarship of discovery. Some new theory has come up or new concept has come up in the practice, and then you are using that actually in the practice, and then you are providing evidence for the same. For example, case-based learning, everyone knows that this is a theory, but if you demonstrate that it helps the students to achieve the higher cognitive skills, then it is a scholarship of application. So you are not discovering, but you are applying whatever is existing. And he also described the scholarship of teaching. And scholarship of teaching is something that study of pedagogy and learning outcomes. So whatever you are examining, you are teaching and learning in a scholarly manner. And then you are saying whatever the results are there and you are putting it into the public domain, which are peer reviewed. So that is a scholarship of teaching. Later on, means there was a movement for the scholarship of teaching and learning, which we called as SOTL. So this appeared there are multidisciplinary journals. This concept keeps on coming, and there was a foundation of International Society for SOTL, and this SOTL was not actually the original part of that original model which Boyer has described, but it evolved later. But as you see in this graph, actually the scholarship of teaching and learning, it embraces everything because it embraces the discovery, the integration. You can see at the intersection also all four things: teaching, discovery, integration, application. They are coming together. And then what is happening is that there is a broader application in academia. Means in fact we are actively involving, means this has uh, shifted little bit from only from the teachers, but actively engaging your learners into that. And then you are finding out that you can integrate, you can apply, you can discover, or you can have more knowledge or new knowledge about the teaching. So the scholarship of teaching and learning, which is a concept which came later on. Now, keeping this in mind, we should see what are the criteria that exist for the scholarship. I've told you already the three criteria which were these were put forth by not by Boyer, but they were put forth by Canadian Association of for Medical Education quite late in 2014. It is said that it should be peer reviewed, it should be verified, and the value should be decided not by the local people at the local level, but those outside the local context. There should be public knowledge. It should be, then how it will become publicly dissemination? that it should be documented, it should be archived, and it should be accessible and retrievable for the public. And there should be a platform that can be built upon later, so that whatever you are doing can be replicated, can be further elaborated on, and it will have an impact on that discipline or the community of practice. And maybe whatever you are doing, that in a new context also, that can be confirmed it is novel, innovative, or creative. So these three P's, if you are doing something scholarly work, you have to see that these three P's are satisfied. Later on, the American Association of Medical Colleges, in their consensus report, added two more criteria. One is the product. I said that initially the scholarship is is a tangible product. So that product should require a high level of expertise. And second is the process. Now the process, whatever you are following to develop that scholarship, should be conducted in the scholarly manner. Now what is that scholarly manner was already those criteria have been developed by Glassick, and they are called as Glassick criteria. And they say they are related to the process, that there should be a very clear goal which is important to the field. There should be adequate preparation, that it should incorporate whatever the current knowledge is there. One has to do the literature, one has to do extensive consultation. So appropriate methodology should be used, because once you have that goal is there, then whatever the study design you will use to develop the evidence, that study design or the data analysis should be in alignment with that objectives. The result should be significant, not just to that local context, but it should go beyond that local context also. And whatever the knowledge is added, it should be of practical consequence. There should be effective communication when you are publicly disseminating it. It should be very clear, and should be done with integrity for the target audience, that means with those stakeholders. And there should be a reflective critic. And the meaning of the reflective critic is there should be some critical reflection on that results, so that they can guide the future work or the direction, how it can be taken further. Then only that they can form a platform on which the others can build upon. So there are, in short, there are 5 P's that any scholarship should fulfill: product, process, it should be peer reviewed, it should be in public domain, and it should serve as a platform to build upon. With this in mind, if you look at the paper by Page, Moran and Fleetwood, you can see that whatever activities we do routinely as a teacher, as a clinician, can be converted into the scholarship. And this can be for example, if you are teaching students, all of us, we are doing it. But how we can convert it into scholarship? If we can develop the modules for teaching others how to teach, how to assess the learning of the student, and if it is fulfilling all 5 criteria, then it becomes a scholarship. Similarly, treating patients, providing services, performing experiments, means we have to think about what we are doing as a daily routine, and we have to think about the other helix. Means one, you know that DNA has a double helix. So one helix is of the activity or practice, the other one is scholarship. One has to think that how we can make that treating patient can become a teaching procedures for the clinicians, or how we can make that tell others if we are developing a program, then how to design, implement a particular service or educational program or service program, and performing the experiments, that informing others through presenting the results or publishing the papers. So this activity one has to keep in mind, so that one can take few steps in developing educational scholarship. Now, as far as the teaching practice goes, if you see the lower half of this, from private to public, you can see that we do lot of teaching practice, but that remains usually informal. We do develop lessons, we do course development, we have our teaching portfolio. We keep on changing also. When we hear someone is doing some new technique, we try to incorporate it. We ourselves reflect or we get the feedback from our student. But this is all done informally, and it remains with us. Or sometimes we share also. We share our teaching practices. We may write the blog, or we may write an article and we tell what we have done, or we may present the teaching tips to the for the others. We write an essay for that. We may publish whatever the curriculum we have designed, but it is not if it is not peer reviewed, if it is just shared, then it may be in public domain, but it may not be peer reviewed. Now, if you see the upper half of it, then you can see the difference that it is going from the informal to the systematic one. So that process criteria by Glassick comes in. So if you attend some conferences and then you go through the literature, and if you see change your teaching or the your assessment based on whatever is that evidence which has been given in the literature, then you may be doing a scholarly teaching. You may do some action research also. If you're going to use that results locally, then it becomes a scholarly teaching. But on the other hand, if you make it public and if it is peer reviewed, like you are publishing the case studies in the journals, which is a peer reviewed journal, not just in your local college bulletin, then it becomes a scholarship. Or you may write an essay which is again with the references and it is peer reviewed, literature review, textbook, meta-analysis. And if it is, again I'm placing it, if it is a peer review, then your any experimental research work which you are conducting with your student, then it all becomes scholarship of teaching and learning. So there are three things we have to remember as teachers. We may be an effective teachers and we are doing effective teaching. What it means that we are using the teaching methods that support the students' learning, or we are using the assessment methods to find out whether our students are really learning. But what is scholarly teaching is applying the research, theory, and methods related to teaching and learning to our day-to-day teaching. So our teaching is grounded in whatever is published, which has been accepted as an evidence. And whereas the scholarship of teaching learning is creation and dissemination of scholarly work on teaching and learning. So we are producing or we are creating something new and we are disseminating it for the public peer review, then it becomes a scholarship of teaching learning. Now, everyone is on the same page and all of you are clear about it. Are there any questions? If not, then can you write in the chat box why we should earn scholarship, why teachers should go from effective teaching, because we are serving our purpose. So why we should go from the effective teaching to scholarly teaching to scholarship. You can unmute yourself or you can write in in the chat box. Anyone?
Ma'am, thank you very much for shaping my concept about the scholarship. Otherwise, I'm thinking that is only a money amount that is going to
Everyone
deliver
thinks,
after some
Dr.
achievements.
Much like that in the initial period, because we are not introduced to
You are
it.
entirely changed my concepts, and thank you very much. I think it is a process that needs too much for the quality assurance of a process that is meant for this scholarship that is necessary for any activity, particularly teaching and learning.
Yeah, and absolutely. And Habib is saying to develop teaching and learning And Mona is saying to help progress in the field of medical education. Yes,
Yeah.
I agree with both of them. Anyone else wants to say something?
There are a couple of comments in the chat.
Okay, I'm seeing it now. To
Yeah.
help the progress in the field, as Mona has said, and then
Mhm.
to add innovative ideas and sharing the updated knowledge to the health community. Yes. So let's see it. I as it is told about the quality that we all know who are there in the health professions education, that quality of healthcare depends on the quality of health professions education, because we are the one who are producing health professionals. And to address that quality, we need the evidence base, because it is the evidence that will ultimately decide the educational policy and practice. You can't say that in my expert opinion, or it is convenient to us. We need a solid evidence for that. So our education should also be evidence-based education. And from where that evidence will get produced, if we are earning the scholarship, if we are putting the scholarly work to on the scholarship. That is one. Secondly, as an individual level, if you see, it is an index of the faculty progress, that your success in career. And I will show you one chart. Actually, it is an assessment framework to measure this thing by Yusuf Fetal. This the whatever the components which are there in the middle, that teaching, learner assessment, curriculum, and these are the activity, leadership, administration, which we do. And you will agree with me, when we are new or we are junior faculty members, we go mainly for the teaching and learner assessment, and later on we are get involved in the rest of the thing. So actually there was a consensus conference on the educational scholarship, and they decided that for SOTL, these are the components in which most of the people they work. But if you look at these triangles at the top, they will decide your level of scholarship. Even we are junior, as I said, that we are doing lots of activities. So there is a lot of quantity. But the quality comes later on when we start understanding it. And then we change to the scholarly teaching as we start looking for the evidences, and then our teaching learning is, as I said earlier, is based on that, or using those evidence-based methods. And then we ourselves develop the scholarship. So as we progress, one may progress from the quantity to the scholarship of teaching learning. And in the initial period, so our goals also are different. That when we are junior, we are contributing to the educational mission of our institution. But later on, when we are doing more and more scholarly work and we are putting it into the public domain, we are advancing the knowledge in the field, as you have already pointed out. And then we are engaging the other educational community with us. So this is the one we have to keep in mind, that it is, though it is individual, it is a success of our career. It's decided upon how we are going on. And all of you must be knowing that the publications are frequently included in those criteria for promotion or tenure guidelines, that so many publications you have to have. And when you are having some publication in that particular field, you can get the awards, or you can apply for the grant. Your grants are depending on that, so that you can pursue more work. You may get a copyright if you develop some very good survey form, or you develop some new tool, then is measuring tool, then you may get a copyright, or you can get it patented. And as your publications in the peer-reviewed journals are increased, it builds your track record. So then you are considered as an expert in the field. And that is what gives you a recognition. So then you start getting invitation as the manuscript reviewers from the reputed national and international journal. Not that one which are very much proliferating, and newer journals are coming and asking anyone to become a reviewer. But if you get it from the medical education, or you get it from Nature or Lancet, then you have to reach a particular level. And you start getting invitation as a speaker to conduct sessions or the workshop during scientific meetings. And your profile also gets expanded to get the international recognition. So there is a snowball effect. The one thing leads to the another thing. And all these activities are actually scholarship, and you can add more to that also depending on which area you are working or you are experts in. So definitely there is a personal benefit. There is an improvement in your own personal practices and your own professional development. But there is a tremendous sense of career satisfaction when you are developing the scholarship. And why that is so? Because you can't do this education scholarship alone. You require help of others also. And then usually they are our peers or they are our juniors. And in this bargain, when they are collaborating with you also get empowered, and the juniors also get empowered, and you start mentoring them. So you start developing more and more health professional scholars. And there is an advancement of, that's why there is an advancement of health professions education, because they also feel like doing independent work. They start, or they may do further studies, but they're with their own ideas with you. And in an institution, then the multiple forms of scholarship may develop. It may not be just the publication. Someone may be interested in developing a software. Someone may be interested in developing a new tool. And that all people, all means majority of people, that if they are involved in this type, then there is an institutional growth. And this is required for the accreditation and ranking of the institution. And you all know our institutions, the health professional institution, have commitment towards the society. Why we are trying to maintain the quality, as we have seen earlier, is mainly to produce the doctors to maintain the quality in the healthcare. So both the quality in the health professions education and quality in the healthcare, it depends upon the educational scholarship we are developing, and we are training our juniors, our peers, and our students. When we are doing this activity, as I said, that we may be the primary person for certain ideas. And as I said earlier, we have to take with us the others as well. Some may be two juniors. We are, as I said, that we are training them or we are mentoring them. Some may leave you also during this pursuit, that may not remain with you. So it is not a very easy job. There are lots of responsibilities when you take up, you decide that you would like to pursue the educational scholarship. And can you tell me, have you done any time you have tried to do the scholarly work or develop the educational scholarship? And can you have done this educational research or the educational projects? And can you tell me the hurdles which are you may have faced during this pursuit of scholarship, or any negative experience you have encountered for that? Is it possible for you to say? Anyone? Yes, Dr. Azim?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your excellent presentation. I really enjoyed.
Dubai Sadr Muslim League CAF, Balochistan. Dr. Shakil Roshan, इंजीनियर हाफिज मोहम्मद रहमान की मौजूदगी में जमात इस्लामी में शामिल हो गए.
Okay.
आपने डलवाना है कैमरा?
Sir, can you?
Yes.
You want to
So
share?
sorry.
Yes.
Really learned and enjoyed your presentation, and thank you so much. About the implementation of a scholar of teaching, as you mentioned, there are lots of challenges in this way. First of all, lack of awareness about the meaning of importance of a scholarship of teaching and learning among the faculty members and also among the institutional leaders. The second one is misconceptions about it. For example, lack of differentiation between scholarly education, scholarly teaching, and a scholarship of education. The third one, as you mentioned, it's so important that, for example, in usual scholarship that we call it research, the product is obvious. Usually you anticipate that it should lead to a publication in a peer-reviewed journal. And therefore, about the validity of the results and about the methodology, usually you have a previously well-done peer review. But here in a scholarship of teaching and learning, it's an important strength of a scholarship of teaching and learning that you accept other venues for presentation of your findings. For example, even holding workshops to disseminate the information, to present it during conference, to publish a book, a software, or anything else. But it's so difficult to assess these products and to validate that they are robust with high quality and not just fabrications. The next one is that usually the institutions has not any infrastructure to support scholarship of teaching and learning. For example, if you are interested to receive some grants to do a scholarship of teaching and learning project, and its results will be a scholarship of teaching and learning, in many universities you couldn't find any granting body to provide you some financial aids, and even there are lack of peer reviewers who could establish it and who could establish a robust peer reviews. At the same time, another problem is lack of in-depth knowledge about medical education, because you should, as you mentioned, you should be expert in this field, or at least in the project that you are going to do. You should have enough knowledge, and usually we don't have it, and therefore the quality of the work that we conduct is not so superb that could be accepted. And finally, in my experience, is how you could convince the institutional leaders to accept scholarship teaching and learning as important and as valid and as should be rewarded as research, for example, in academic promotion guidelines. And it's a very difficult task for everyone who are going to implement it institutionally to convince the top leadership to insert the scholarship teaching and learning in the whole process of academic promotion. So sorry.
Absolutely. No, absolutely right, sir. And Mona has also written that many promotional bodies, they don't recognize the published article in medical education. Very true. It happens in India as well. And our certain bodies, they have we have a national medical commission, and we have seen that initially they never used to recognize, but now it has been changed because constantly from the other professional bodies they started getting these letters, and they have the program. So now slowly they are trying to doing it, as well as our mentees may not listen to you. Agree with you. One second. So at the end of it, now, as Dr. Azim said, that people find it very exhausting work. You are doing a lot of work, going through that stressful period, but nobody is ready to appreciate it. And sometimes what happens, when we are not doing it very systematically because we are not aware of how to follow it up, we do some things, we do activities, but they are so disorganized that you don't get the final product at all. Or there may be a frustration because it is suppose it is in public domain and people start criticizing you, and then you get you feel that why I'm doing and why I'm spending, it is not getting even recognized. So there is a aversion, and then your first attempt turns as your last attempt. Actually, this pursuit of scholarship, you can look at it as a mountaineering. That quick, smooth travel is a myth. You have to keep it that in mind. And there may be fall or there may be landslide, and that can be disaster. So what we should try to do is very well manage survival till the end. And when we start taking up this work, we know there are certain hurdles which are expected, that we have to have a talk with our stakeholders, we have to get our mentees along with it, and they may not agree. Or there may be certain things where we need someone's help. There are some crevices are there that you have to bridge between the two departments that they are not working together, and then you have to manage people around you. So some of the expected work, but there are certain things which may be unexpected as well, that you may get lost because the ultimate product is not coming in your hand. There may be something so unexpected that I remember we were doing something with the residents, and the residents themselves went on strike, and then full project, that educational project, we couldn't do at all. Or some university examination, they get preponed, or the people have some cultural program, because there is no coordination between the different committees in your institution. So there are certain things which are unexpected. The people have reported a lot of hurdles, and in addition to and some of them, I'm repeating it also what Dr. Azim said, it is ignorance. That is one thing, lack of training. Because even if you are doing the scholarship of teaching and learning, it is not as stringent as the research maybe, but you have to follow it very systematically. And there are some things like defining the research question, how you are going to collect the data, how you are going to analyze the data. All those steps are almost similar. Someone may not get the time. The patient load is so heavy that you may not, you are doing the dual roles, and there may be opportunity. So there could be, during the planning, there may be problem. While you are conducting it, there are problems. And after that also, the data presentation or for the conflict in authorship, there are no up-to-date guidelines. So you may face lot of problems during this. There are also some problems, as Sir also mentioned. There are lack of local experts. So getting started with the activity will be difficult. And there is a lack of Office of Research, Scholarship, or coordinator. So you don't know how to go about. You may not get the faculty mentors. People are not aware of these concepts also, and locally you don't find anyone. And they are unaware of the information regarding what is occurring locally, because some department may be doing some activity, but you are not doing it. So there may be unnecessary duplication of the work, or it may go in a very haphazard manner. There is no leadership support for you. Your institutional head or the administrator, they may not find it very interesting, and you don't get any recognition and appreciation. And all these hurdles which I'm mentioning over here, they are amiable, or they get influenced by one thing, and that is the human connect. And this human connect in any research, but especially in the educational research, is very, very important, because that educational research, educational science is social and behavioral science. You can't sit in a lab, or you can't sit before a computer and develop your own design or develop your software. You have to have the interaction with the people. You have to have the interaction with others. You need that support from everywhere. And this is a very important thing for us. So then, when we think about that, then what can be the strategies to enhance and sustain educational scholarship? I will tell you what I'm thinking about it, and towards the end, I will ask you that whatever your experiences are, you can share with me. I can tell you as a formula or acronym like A, B, C, D, E, F. You can remember it that way. The A stands for the awareness and understanding educational scholarship. B stands for the building the capacity for scholarship. C stands for crossing the barriers, which we have seen earlier. D stands for dissemination. E stands for enhancing the collaboration. F stands for the fostering the institutional support and culture. And all these things, ultimately, they will make you do your own personal action plan. Now, for each each one of them, for each component, you can divide that as a individual, institutional level, or you can have the strategies at the university or professional organizational level. I will not do that for everyone. I will give you few examples or for the individual one, because otherwise it will be beyond our time limit. So the first thing is the awareness and understanding of the educational. We need the sessions on educational scholarship. Like we are having one, the CU has decided that we should have a webinar on educational scholarship. As I told you earlier, I got introduced to this concept in the FAMER Fellowship program. And that time, Dr. Page was there, and she encouraged us to map whatever we were doing, but in the teaching, assessment, design, against the scholarship model. Means she said, okay, you are doing the workshop now, tell me that what will you use the classic criteria and you see where you are fulfilling it or not. So that slowly we started understanding that what we are lacking or where there is a gap and what is a scholarly potential in our everyday teaching, because it never occurred to us earlier. So that type of this will remain is only at the level of understanding. The second is building the capacity for scholarship. Now, this can't be only for the individual level. Means we can go and do it, but it has to be the institutional level, or it should be at the level of the national level, or the professional bodies should take a part on. So the institution can have that. That faculty development workshops, so training in educational research method, or telling people that educational research have for this qualitative approach and quantitative approach. We are not used to that when we are doing the research in our own discipline. Now slowly these qualitative approaches are coming, at least in my discipline of pharmacology, but mostly we are still on the quantitative approach. And we need help, a lot of support for writing as well. We need mentorship programs, and as I told you, the mentors are not available, but when they are, we need to pair them with the novice educators or experienced scholars, which may not be from our own institution, but again, that comes to, you should have a very good leadership or visionary leadership. And the journal clubs. Personally, I have a very affinity for these journal clubs, that creating forums for sharing educational projects and getting back. I've seen that happening, these journal clubs taking place in my own institution, IRA University, and our medical education department conducts it regularly. As well, I've seen in one of the colleges in Maharashtra that the dean took the initiative to start the journal club. And what we do in the journal clubs, such journal clubs, like in our own journal clubs, which we have in our own discipline, we examine whatever is presented, what evidence is there in the article. We try to judge based on the whatever is mentioned, methodology, discussion, introduction, the trustworthiness, its value, and relevance in particular content. So we are slowly, the people who are involved in the journal club, they try to develop the critical appraisal skills, and they learn about the advances in the field, and they try to link it with the evidence in the practice. But this should be associated with certain questions. So they require again a mentor or some guidance, that whether it is something new, what was known about the topic previously, what this particular study adds, and what is the take-home message. Are these conclusions are justified? So to see that trustworthiness of the that evidence, and what is important, will it influence the educational practice in our country or the rest of the world, and whether we should change our own practice and whether we should try it over there. When we use this question, what happens? That everyone, if they are getting involved sincerely, then we start wearing the thinking cap. We start reflecting and sharing our experiences. And we start feeling that, okay, it is doable. This fellow has done it, I can also try. And it is not, we say the educational science research is different, but it has some principles at least which are the same. It doesn't require that costly equipment. I don't need too many co-investigators. I can have students as partners. And then within my budget, I will be able to do. It doesn't require lakhs of rupees to carry out that thing if I have to do it in my own class. And no additional time is spent. It's not like a laboratory work. And then the risk is also minimum. So slowly, at least whatever we have read, if we try to use it in our practice, then we start slowly improving the educational practice, and that is gratifying as teachers. The additional things are we provide opportunity to promote the interest in research, because people start slowly understanding what is a knowledge gap, and they may again it requires the help of a mentor how to formulate the future research question. What was the research question in that particular article, and then whether we can whatever the based on that whatever they have we have got and they have discussed whether we can formulate further research question. They get the guidance. At least they develop the awareness what is there in the literature. And one can ask when we find out that there are lots of critics comes in, we can write a letter to the editor after that discussion on the original article. I have seen such letters getting published when they have discussed in the journal club in the department, and then slowly, means it will not be an overnight journey, but slowly that fosters the research culture in the institution. Crossing the barriers is a different thing, but we can have the time. Means time is a constraint, then you can start with the micro scholarships and then get published in the bulletin or at the website. Short courses maybe on specific areas like certificate programs or the postgraduate diploma. CU has got both the certificate program and postgraduate diploma program. Master's program can be started, and slowly people can get exposed, and then the faculty themselves can serve as a mentor, and that will be across the globe. One can have online MOOCs on specific areas, and CU is thinking about these online MOOCs. Mentorship we discussed earlier, and there has to be the institutional policy. There has to be a push for recognizing it. And as I told you, it is difficult. Many people they don't recognize, but they need a professional body or the university who is pushing it slowly, mentioning it. Earlier, in India, medical education work was not considered at all. Then it came to one paper, only one paper will be seen. Now it has got more weightage. So if the institution can give awards, certificates for that, naturally it will be helpful. I would like you people to read this article, which is actually it is an editorial, a toolkit for medical education. And they have mentioned the strategies for the medical educators with limited resources. So suppose you don't have time, no funding, no resource, no mentor, no writing experience. What is your potential option? So many a times that we will work alone or we will not do it or we will write posting. But they have also offered, the editor has also offered the better option based on the whatever articles used to come and whatever their own experience. So you should read this particular article. I told you there are hurdles which are amenable to human cunning, and that creates many the psychological barrier. Like we have discussed about fear of rejection, but there could be biases, mistrust, the relevance is not perceived, emotional ability, and self-efficacy. Remember that it is a fundamental need, and if you remember those Maslow's triangle, the hierarchy of need, there is a sense of belonging. We have to make the connections, and there are three benefits which occur through this human connectivity. One is emotional, that feeling a sense of belonging to a person or a group. Second is cognitive, that learning something new throughout. And there is one as practical or functional, that receiving assistance with a problem. And all these categories are not mutually exclusive. You have to remember that. The how to get it, one is the mentorship program. So rather than advice and direction, I feel the mentorship is also important for your psychological support, motivation, and the motivation. The second is a community of practice. And I hope that every one of us know what is meant by community of practice. That is a group of people who have common concern, common passion, and they are interacting regularly to learn how something can be done better. So there is a lot of sharing occurs, advice occurs, whatever the psychological support one can get in. Those who have done the FAMER and who are they are the part of the FAMER Connect DC, you will understand that how there is a support occurs. Even those who have done the certificate course and postgraduate diploma, those WhatsApp groups are still functional. So this is a social networking. And the third one is the peer support, which everyone can give in their own department, or they can have their own WhatsApp group at the institutional level where the people who have got same interests can come together. Then comes the dissemination of scholarship. One need not go for that higher level immediately. It could be there is it, you can think that it can be a ladder, and that ladder can be slowly one can go up. Like it is a layered dissemination. So you can go beyond the journals, conferences, podcasts, blogs, and slowly you can start with something which is at a local institution, educational clearinghouse, and then go up. But you required some writing support as well, and their peer writing groups are also there. There is a concept of writing retreats are also coming up, and one should be aware of where you can post it digitally. So there are certain things like Meded portal or Meded publish, where you can, there are open research publishing platform or where you can see the resources. So one should be aware about that. Collaborations needs to be enhanced institutionally, inter-institutionally, and with the global communities. And people are doing lots of effort. One can have a now with this Google Doc. You can develop one project and everyone can chip in and go on adding to it. And institutional support and culture, but like recognition and reward, there should be dedicated units as we discussed earlier. And funding, we at least some policies should be given to have the seed grants, because otherwise you don't get it, or it has to be there at the university level and then at the government level, and only the professional bodies can promote this. Those who have, like we have Academy of Health Professions Education, so we are recommending to the government that it has to be there. We are publishing the articles where it is mentioned that this is there. So there is a advocacy should be there for inclusion of the educational scholarship in the institutional strategic plans and accreditation requirement. But again, I said, I will repeat again that we need a good leadership for that. This is again a very recent article published in 2025. These are the problems which still there: diversity, equity, inclusion, and anti-oppression. The issues are there, and we have to develop some research findings that can go to the different aspects. And therefore, we should have the scholar communities should be diversified. And they have proposed a model, and then they have given the recommendation for the individual institution, journals, and funders for that. And this is also another one. The AI tools are available. So how we can apply the AI tools towards scholarship? Each AI has different capacity and capability, and not and there are limitations as well. But they have shown beautifully. They have given 12 tips. It is published in Medical Teachers, that how with those tips for these 4 different types of scholarship, how we will be able to use AI, make a good use of AI. So all these things will ultimately lead to the personal action plan. So one has to remember that we can go from the educator to scholar by taking small steps, and that may have a lasting impact. And each classroom innovation deserves scholarly voice. And for that, there are certain things one has to follow, like the self-reflection, what I'm doing, whether it is counting as a scholarship, can I apply that Glassif criteria? What are my goals? You can decide one or two major things. You can't develop scholarship from each and every activity. Try to find out mentors and collaborators on your own and decide what dissemination roadmap, whether you want to publish at the local level or the national level, and how you are going to share it. And whenever you are doing it, you remember these three P's, that peer-reviewed, public knowledge, and the platform to be built on. So whenever you are writing, you see to it that you will highlight that what is new, what is generalizable, write scholarly. You have done the work using the Glassif criteria, then try to write them also in a proper way. Decide what will be the documentation venue, and when you want to develop that platform that can be built up in your publication itself, you have to highlight in the discussion what are the limitations of your work, what remains to be done, and what could be the way forward. So you are doing that critical reflection from the Glassif criteria to critically reflecting on this and giving some idea for the readers so that they can replicate or they can go ahead with modification. And never to give up. You may send for the publication, it may come back to you. Use those reviewers' comments and strengthen your work further. So with this, I'm ending my talk over here. But would you like to share, if the time permits, any strategy or your own experience that you have used something? Anyone wants to share? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any medical background, but I found your talk very, very interesting and very informative. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. For me, scholarship was just monetary, but this makes a lot of sense, and it is much more than any monetary scholarship that we can look for. This is really amazing. And I think Dr. Azim has...
Yeah, Dr. Azim has raised yes, Dr. Azim.
Thank you so much. I I waited if anyone else is interested to talk, but it seems that somebody should be the pioneer and then others will join. Thank you so much. As our colleagues mentioned, it's so helpful for us to learn about scholarship of teaching and learning. For me, the most important aspect of a scholarship of teaching and learning has some fold. One of them is application of current knowledge to fix the challenges of medical education and health profession education on the ground. Because I'm not sure what happens for you, but in my context, in our context in Iran, when we tried to implement a scholarship of teaching and learning, there were a debate about the difference between a scholarship of teaching and learning and research in medical education. You know better than me that research in medical education could be expanded. The scholarship of teaching and learning could be included in it. But when you are trying to capitalize what is the meaning, sometimes you need to provide some differentiation. And now we usually use asking a question or fixing a problem. It's not so simple all the time, but mostly if a project or a report is about answering a question, for example, about the impact, about the effectiveness, efficiency, cost effectiveness, etc., it means some sort of it could be research in medical education. But when you are going to fix a problem based on the best of knowledge of current literature, it means that you are working on the domain of scholarship of teaching and learning. The most important reason that I emphasize on that, when you are going, for example, for awards, as you mentioned, as institutional recognition, we, for 19 years, that at least 40 or 50 years of that time was exactly based on classic criteria. We had a national festival for recognition of educational scholarship at the country level. And in that case, you should differentiate between these two items. In our experience, as you mentioned, it was so interesting to me when you talk about the journal club, because the reason that I believe that journal club is a good platform for discussion about this issue, that most of the time when you talk about medical education, when you tell the participants that we have journals in the field of medical education, mostly they were ignorant about it. And therefore, usually it is not considered as a discipline. And the second importance of the scholarship of teaching and learning is showing them that it's a discipline. It has own fund of knowledge. It has own societies and also publications, literature. And it shows that there is a depth of knowledge in this field and not just rhetoric or some interest that some people have. And it could be helpful to attract people to be involved in this game and in this area. And it is so important. The other reason that I believe that scholarship of teaching and learning is so important is that usually most of the institutional leaders are, it's not good to say angry, but somehow skeptical about the importance of research. They know that research will improve the prestige of the institution, but sometimes they ask us that what's happened for our students, how you could fix the problems, and not just to publish something to show yourself or even our institutions. I usually provide an example like a diabetic patient that have lots of sugar in his blood or in her blood, but the cells are starving. And the current situation in our university is the same. We have fund of knowledge, lots of knowledge, and even lots of studies, research studies in this field. But the classrooms, but the practicals, but the clerkships are starving because nobody found any improvement on the ground. And therefore, when you show the leaders that the scholarship of teaching and learning could be beneficial for the society, as you mentioned, for the individual, for the institution, and for the discipline, they feel that it is something that's so important for them and could be helpful. And this lead to some extra support of those who involved in this. We implemented from nearly 20 years ago, somehow 18 years ago, we included a scholarship of teaching and learning in the academic promotion guidelines. Fortunately or unfortunately, I believe unfortunately, the academic promotion guideline in Iran is central and is governed by the ministry. And therefore we included in that. And nearly 10 years, we struggle to implement it meaningful, because finally we need to provide the equilibrium of the scholarship of teaching with publication. Otherwise, the promotion committees couldn't do anything to accept this. After that, the resistance of promotion committee For example, even in my institution, they were reluctant to accept it, and even myself asked them. I had enough publications to show them that I have scholarly work, but I asked them to count my scholarship of teaching and learning, because to pass this hurdle, as you mentioned, and therefore it's a major challenge. And as you mentioned, it's so helpful for the health of academy, and this is the most important things for me. But at the same time, it's helpful that it could be for the people. It is a win-win process for the individual. Usually educators lose when the institution win. And when you have a scholarship teaching and learning process, that you provide consultation to develop a project, and then to fund it, to consult it, and then you will provide a platform for its dissemination and rewarding and awarding and recognition and promotion. It means that it's not just a chain of activities that you should do to flourish a scholarship teaching and learning in your country, in your institution. And we have story of success and failure, but overall, I could tell you that it seems that we finally reached a point that we could talk about the institutional implementation of the scholarship teaching and learning at the national level and also institutional level. So sorry. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, so much, sir. Means it was a learning for me. I never differentiated between the experimental research and the scholarship or teaching and learning. Means it is different, but that is embedded. I used to feel in that scholarship of teaching and learning, the research. But that question makes a difference. I learned that. Thank you so much.
There is a question by Dr. Wajahat Rizvi on the chat. If you can take a look.
Yeah, please. Okay. How do you find the need for more encouraging options in terms of free and hassle-free options for sharing the? I would like to encourage beginners, in my opinion. Would be able to know your worthy opinions also. I didn't get you. More encouraging option in terms of hassle-free options for sharing the scholarly work. Well, I don't know whether, I can give you an example. We have this Academy of Health Professions Education, and there is a network is there. There is a network of FEMER fellows also. Individual, means we have 4 regional institutes, and there is a network. So whenever we do, means even I get some they share the scholarly work with us, and then we give the opinion to them, or we give our critics about it. So if you don't have something like that, you can share it with your mentors, or you can share it with people who are like-minded, you feel, and then you can that could be just the beginning in first place. Slowly that network will go on increasing. That is how I feel you can do it. Is that the one you are looking for, or you have something else in mind?
Yeah, great, thanks, ma'am. Actually, I was just looking for this thing only. Like especially for the beginners, the challenge with the usually faces about the accessibility for the platforms to share
I know.
their works
I know.
also. You know,
Yeah, no, I mean, if
yeah.
you have to share it, then it can be your local conferences, institutional activities. You can do it. We have some staff society meetings. So earlier we have done that is faculty meetings, monthly faculty meeting. We have shared sometimes our work in the faculty meeting. so to with others to get their ideas. I can see Dr. Mohammed Asif has raised hand.
Yeah, ma'am, I'm just curious. There is a very enlightening discussions about this scholarship. I'm very impressed about that. It is a good in making my shaping my concepts. But what I think that in our clinical practice as I'm a surgeon, we use a term as this evidence-based medicine. It is just, I think it is a counterpart, this scholarship in medical education, it is just like a counterpart of evidence-based medicine.
Yes. Yes, that means you use the evidence in education. Similarly, in clinical practice, the guidelines which are getting formed in clinical practice, they are based on the evidence. So which you use the guidelines and we say that it is a evidence-based practice we are doing clinically. Similarly, in education also, those things which have shown that they are working and you have got a sufficient evidence for that. If you start using that, then it becomes an evidence-based education. And you can contribute to that as well through your practice. Because when we start working on something, then we feel that is, even if there is evidence earlier, that happens for any research activity, we find some lacunae or we find that we have to change it to suit our own local context. And then we make the
Yes.
changes and we use it. But we don't take the trouble to make those changes systematically. We don't take the trouble to make it public. We use it for our own benefit. So if you
Yes.
think about those 5 P's before you start doing it and document it and then publish it later, then that can give you the scholarship.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Okay.
Sakina?
Yeah, anybody else? Thank you so much, Niramala. I'm really thankful for you taking time to educate us. This was a very informative talk. I'm sure everybody who joined have learned something, and I know I have. So I really appreciate it, and I thank you on behalf of CVU, and I thank everybody who has joined. Inshallah, we'll see you again in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sakina, and thank you, Dr. Azim, for being there and enlightening us.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Really enjoyed. Thank you.
Dr. Azim, I have learned a lot from you too. This was a double educational webinar. So I'm really thankful.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, and I'm sure everybody else felt the same. So thank you very
A great
much.
honor. Thank you for your support and for the platform you provided. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.